what we have is an underground pipeline that's bringing the water to us, which is probably similar to what you're going to face if you're at home or if you've got agricultural water. So I'm going to assume you've got a water source that's pressurized. That would be ideal for any irrigation project that you install. So what we've got is an electric timer, which will help us irrigate the project regularly without us having to be aware day to day whether the water's on or not or how dry it is. We can come in periodically and check to make sure the plants are okay moisture-wise, but this controller will take care of it on a day-to-day basis. And it's solar operated, so we don't have power here. We have this tiny little solar panel that runs this, which is great because it gives you a lot more field mobility. And it's a unit made by Hunter, although there's other models out there. So then what we're doing is we're bringing in our water. We have a pressure compensator because our water is like 100 psi. So we've got an electronic control valve here that's wired to that controller. And then we have a filter, and you want to have a filter with a clean out on it so that you're able to make sure your emitters are not getting plugged from dirt getting through, but also have the ability to unscrew it, flush it out. That's going to really make your maintenance a lot easier. And then a pressure compensator. This one goes up to 20 psi. That's really key. If you hook up your drip lines to, say, city water or to some irrigation water that's 100 psi, you're going to blow your fittings and it's going to be a major headache. So don't forget the pressure compensator. And then what we're doing is we're going out into, these are 3/4 inch black poly tubing lines. They're pretty standard in irrigation and agriculture. You can find them at your local hardware store or at a specialized irrigation store. That's pretty much true for all of this equipment. Now we're going to zoom in and look at a particular plant. This is a holly leaf cherry, but what we're looking at is really the irrigation. So you've got your 3/4 inch poly line that's bringing in your water. What we did here is, because this is a demonstration project, we're trying to demonstrate the best that we can. You can always simplify for your needs. We also have a complicated planting with different types of plants that need different irrigation levels. The more you simplify your design to have a standardized plant array with similar irrigation needs, the cheaper it's going to be, the easier to set up. What we did here is we have some plants that are going to be large trees. We have some that are from riparian areas. We have some that are going to be small shrubs, differential water needs. So we set up two circuits. We have a wetter circuit and a drier circuit, depending on the plant needs. We also put in these individual valves here on each of the drip lines. So you have your main water supply, and then these drip lines go out to individual plants. With these valves, you can control, let's say you have a plant that does not want any summer water, that it's very detrimental to it, and then you have a plant nearby that needs water. Well, what you can do is just go through and shut off your valve for your dry land plant, and that will prevent you from irrigating that. Then we run the poly lines, these little spaghetti lines, close to the plant. Again, not right on the crown. That's where you can get crown rot and you lose your plant. So you want to water nearby, kind of within the drip line. So if you had a 1 gallon pot and the plant is in the middle, you want to put your emitters on either side of it, not in the center. And again, make sure you don't plant down into depression. This looks like it's in a depression because of the mulch, but it's actually raised a bit on the ground. On the other end from your valve, the other end of the spaghetti tube, we have an emitter here, and this is a 1 gallon per hour Netafim pressure reducing or pressure compensating emitter. The pressure compensating part is important because if you're on a slope, the plants down at the bottom are going to experience a higher water pressure in the irrigation lines than at the top of the hill. And if you don't get the pressure compensating emitters, you're going to have a lot more water going on your bottom plants than the top plants, even with the same watering time. So again, what we would recommend for maximum flexibility is your main line going to a small valve to give you individual plant control, to a spaghetti tube, to a pressure compensating emitter. That would be the irrigation setup that we would recommend. Again, you can simplify it quite a bit. You can remove this. You can do a single circuit of irrigation if you choose similar plant types with similar summer water needs and growth patterns. So you can see we've lost a couple plants in a row here. We have a big gopher infestation. There's many techniques for getting gophers. The one that I've had the most luck with, both personally in farming for row crops and then out here, is this type of trap, which is called a cinch trap. So what you need to do is carefully monitor your field every morning, and it's important to do it early, and you're looking for the gopher mound that's the freshest. So it'll often be like the most damp colored earth, and you'll find an area where you can see a circular part where they're throwing up the dirt from their hole. If you use like a lattice stake and you dig down in there, you can find their hole and scrape out a little bit. This cinch trap then will slide down into the hole such that it's lining the hole sides, and you have this target. And what happens is the gopher comes along, he checks his tunnels every morning basically, and they come along and they see the light and they come through to pack it shut, and they hit this trigger, and that's usually the end of the gopher. So that's one type of technique. You can look online for all other types, but with the cinch trap and most types of trapping, the key is early in the morning, find the freshest burrow and do your trapping then, and do it on a daily recurring basis. Soils program. So what I'm talking about in this little segment is pest control, and this is our fence that we put in because we are doing this on rangeland. We don't like to think of our livestock, sheep in this case, as pests, but if you're trying to grow a hedgerow, they can be. So you're going to want to fence them out. We do a lot of fencing here at Hopland. We have about 5,400 acres. What we have really come to do for sheep fencing is 47-inch high field fence that prevents them from getting through down here. We like to use these 2-inch galvanized metal posts. You can pound them into the ground, saves you digging a hole each time. And then you can use these cross braces. What we're finding is it gives us a longer lifespan than a traditional wooden fence. It used to be that old virgin redwood was the best, and that's the fence behind me that you can probably see. Some of those posts are 80 to 100 years old and still standing. But with wood now, these last better. You don't want to do pressure treated, that leaches into your ground. Behind me, you'll also notice there is no hedgerow because we're under one of our oak trees, and it's a valley oak. And oaks do not like summertime water on their roots. What you will do is you will stir up soil pests that will slowly erode the health of your oak tree over time. So don't water under the drip line of your oak trees during the summer months.